guess who else has joined me? Ben Mankiewicz and Kevin Dunn. Kevin Dunn is an actor that you've seen in approximately 28 movies, including Transformers, Nixon, Dave, Ghostbusters 2. You've seen him in TV shows like Seinfeld. And I'm leaving out, like I said, about probably 17 other major movies and TV shows you've been in.
But like you're using 28 to seem like it's a lot, but I think he's been in more than 28 movies.
No, I think that the person watching has personally seen him in 28 movies.
Oh, okay. I got you.
Right. Now, because you go to IMDb and you're in a hell of a lot more than 28. But I believe every single American has seen you in 28 different movies.
films? Okay.
Let me ask this then right off the bat. Has it changed because you're the father on the Transformers movies?
Right, right.
Ron Whitney. Has that changed the level of recognition as you walk through LA substantially or no?
Mostly with little kids.
Yeah.
You know, they'll kind of go.
Do they say, "Daddy, Daddy"?
No, they kind of get freaked out because a lot of them still are in that stage of, you know, movies are reality and stuff. So you just
right.
And then the older, you know, the kids in their teens and stuff are, you know.
But everybody sees it. I mean, the young kids, when they go, they got to go with their parents, and the teens.
I mean, it's been around forever. I mean, I had a guy, must have been 30 years old at, where was I, Best Buy. He said, "Wait a minute," and he runs back and he comes out with this beautiful old Transformer that was still made of metal.
Really?
And wanted me to sign it. And I said, "You don't really want me to sign this.
I don't think you want me to sign it.
Because it's going to be worth a lot less
but I don't
if I mark this up." So.
Well, that's interesting. The most interesting part of that story is that you were at Best Buy. Have you heard of a thing called Amazon? It turns out it's a lot cheaper.
Yeah. But I'm still, you know, I'm kind of a dinosaur in those. I'm ordering more now online, you know, but I go to different sites, building sites. It's a lot of stuff for construction and stuff. I can really.
Oh, you're into construction?
Yeah.
Oh, really? What do you construct? Can I ask?
Yeah.
My house.
Is owning a house a pain in the ass? Because I'm thinking of like going in that direction, and I feel like I'd always be doing construction, which I hate. Is that mandatory when you buy a house?
Yeah, unless you want to spend a lot of money hiring people who, you know, 80% of them don't know what they're doing. And
somebody needs to stop this conversation. It's a disaster to own a house. A catastrophe. the idea of American home ownership is the dumbest idea that we've perpetrated on millions of people. It's look at him.
Rent
He's
while you
stressed
can.
out. He's like, I gotta go to Lowe's. I gotta buy this. I gotta rewire the TV.
yeah, I'm a slave.
Just
I mean,
rent.
I'm an actual slave.
Rent.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I know. But, you know, the problem is wives. They like houses.
They don't know. They don't know. We need
Well.
to save women from themselves. My theory, anyway.
All right, so let's go back to the beginning. So you've been in all these things. How'd you get started? Did you always knew you wanted to get into acting, or did you live in LA? Where were you? What
I was
happened?
in Chicago. I grew up in Chicago.
Every actor's from Chicago.
You know,
I know, everybody's from Chicago.
Yeah, there is a Chicago contingent out here. But, you know, I just, you know, started writing goofy plays in grade school, you know, and trying to walk the fine line of getting a beating by the nuns or not, you know, what you could get away with. And we'd do that. And then I just, you know, I did a couple plays in high school and decided to major in college. And, you know, that was it.
Let me ask you this, because your sister's an actress and a comedian,
Nora,
yeah. How does it, because your parents weren't, were they?
No.
So how does it happen that these two kids, that you get it, that both of you are so talented at it and driven to do it?
Nora was a comedian.
Yeah.
I mean, well, she was, you know, she had moved from, I think from L.A. to, Chicago to L.A. to San Francisco, and she was waiting tables in San Francisco, and she was, you know, kind of a typical, you know, in San Francisco, they don't expect that, you know, that kind of wise-ass Chicago, you know, and...
Too impolite.
Yeah, and somebody told her that she ought to get in stand-up, so she just went into stand-up and started doing stand-up in San Francisco and started working. Robin Williams was up there at the time. And
so you both kind of came at it accidentally, almost, independently.
Yeah, total different places. Yeah.
Oh, really? Did you guys ever wind up helping each other out? Like, hey, I'm in a movie. Hey, you want to lose?
I got an audition for Saturday Night Live back in the mid-'80s, I guess. Yeah. And I went in and I met with Franken and Davis, and I did my shtick, and they were, you know, I had them laughing and stuff, and I said, do you think I'm funny? And they said, yeah. I said, well, you should meet my sister. And they said, where's she? I said, she's waiting tables.
Really?
Oh, really?
I said, well, could you go get her? So I went and picked her up, and she got the job.
So she owes you a little.
She owes me.
Some debt of gratitude. She was on what, like 5 years? She was.
Yeah, 5 years. Yeah.
And whatever happened with you in Saturday Night Live?
Didn't
When you said Franken, that was Al Franken?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, that's really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When they were the Franken and Davis team. Yeah.
They were the head writers.
Right.
And they were,
right.
yeah, yeah.
Oh, that's really cool. So, was there a point where you thought you broke through? Like, I got this job, oh my God, et cetera, or no, it just kind of kept going a little bit at a time?
No, you just plow ahead. You know, I have many people say, okay, you know, this is it for you. But, you know, I'm very happy with my career and what I've done, but you know, I audition for things, and, you know, I don't go from project to project, and, you know, I try to.
Right.
I've never considered, I think it's kind of a fatal mistake for a character actor to think, wow, I've made it, because, you know.
So that's kind of stressful, though. I mean, to your, like, at some point, don't you want to say, like, have that moment where, like, Dirk Nowitzki goes and cries in the hallway after he won the championship? Like, is Transformers not enough? Can you not go and cry in the hallway and say, like, hey, you know?
Well, so, you know, so many, you know, it's a strange bunch. I mean, Transformers, huge financial success and stuff, but I mean, you know, there are industry people who are like, you were in that Transformers, weren't you? You know what? You're like, sorry, it only made $1 billion.
Yeah, I know, right? I mean, like, but, do they know that you're building another wing for your house? I mean, where are you going to get that money?
Michael Bay wing.
Sorry, sorry, it only made $1 billion.
Yeah. So.
Right, but that doesn't. I mean, first of all, you're immune to the criticism of that. It has nothing to do with you anyway, and it wouldn't bother you anyway if it did. You mentioned Michael Bay. Michael Bay directed the Transformers, and I didn't. You know, I'm a critic too, and I may have taken a shot or two at Transformers, but you got to be one of the few actors. Is there anybody else worked with Michael Bay and Woody Allen?
I don't know. That's an interesting question.
They're very similar.
4Woody and Mike. Yeah. They're sitting around town a lot together.
It was like the Franken and Davis team.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, they're unstoppable.
Woody's like, hey, I got to pick out some chicks. Please help me out.
Right. Yeah.
Well, on that they might agree.
Yeah. Kevin, I got to blow this up. How do I help me out? Help me out. I can't figure it out.
How do I get this monster to come out?
Yeah, because you were in Vicky Cristina Barcelona. So what? I mean, this is almost obvious. This is such a dumb question in many ways, but they're literally, they couldn't, if you were gonna like come up with a little routine about two totally disparate directors, those might be it. Woody Allen on one end, Michael Bay on the other.
Yeah, because you know when Michael Bay is on the set.
Is that right?
Yeah. With Woody, you're not really sure. I mean, it's like, where's Woody? And he's in the car playing his clarinet. You know?
Does he really do that?
Yeah,
that's strange.
Yeah.
Let me tell.
Can I just ask quick? How do you know Michael Bay's on the set? Is it like the 20 handlers flutter around like, oh my God?
No, he's like about 10 people. I mean, I don't know, he's a shapeshifter, you know, he's like here or there. It's like he shows up and it's just
like a forceful.
He starts ripping stuff up and do this, do that, you know.
Right.
And so he makes his presence known. You know, on the second one he would pull up and we'd be all, "Hail Satan! Satan has arrived!" You know.
So you're with Megan Fox?
No, I'm not. You know, I'm very appreciative for a great 3 gigs and you know, I wouldn't want to direct those things. I don't know what would happen to me if, you know, it's just,
no,
they're
I'm
huge.
Kidding. Yeah, I'm kidding. I think Megan was, if you ask me, not that I know much about it, but I think she was out of line. You know, because he gave her a big break.
Yeah, you know, it's hard when you look at, you know, she's really a young girl, you know, and I think that was the biggest thing that was hard for her was, you know, she's pretty shy in the real world, and there she's on Maxim. She's every guy's, you know, wet dream and whatever. You know, I don't know. I think it's just the whole thing overwhelmed her.
I read a long piece on her in GQ or Esquire, and Vanity Fair maybe, and I was really struck by her sort of. I thought that she's really sensitive. Like she doesn't seem. I don't mean sensitive like touchy. I just mean like she's not. Yeah. She's not a Hollywood girl. Like I got that things. She was bothered. She really was bothered.
Yeah.
And so,
but Kevin, actually, you
everybody's going to be okay in that deal.
Yeah, they're all rich. They're all fine. But look, Kevin, it's interesting because it seems like a lot of actors are really sensitive. I mean, in the touchy sense, etc. Like you guys put yourselves out in the most public way, but it seems so many people that are in that profession are really thin-skinned.
Thin-skinned?
Yeah. Am I
Yeah,
seeing
it's
that wrong,
interesting.
or is that right?
No, I think
Your
it's
experience.
interesting that, you know, like, I love it when, like, actors get mad at paparazzi, but they're always at the clubs where the paparazzi is. It's like, well,
You're there,
go
right?
to Applebee's or
Right.
something, and
You're always
you'll
on
be
TMZ.
there, right? You know?
Yeah.
Was there any paparazzi at the Best Buy when you were there?
There's this little guy in Ventura Boulevard, and it's the funniest thing. And I know him now, but he just haunts Ventura Boulevard. And I always show up like I went to get some dog food, and I had been working all day. I look like shit, and I'm just like, I mean, the worst you could look. I have a collection of working shirts that have every project I've ever done on. And there he is, you know. So I don't care anymore. I talk to him, but it's just hilarious.
Isn't it impressive that these guys know everybody? Like you see them, I'll see them out on in Beverly Hills or something, but at like at regular places, commercial places, and they're just waiting, and I'm like, how I got it. It's Julia Roberts
I look
walks
like a
on,
homeless person.
Right,
I mean,
but they know. They know.
They're like,
No, they got a network of spies. That's what it is. Because I remember, no, this is a real story. I was jogging in LA once, and I saw this girl, and she looked really cute. I'm like, what a cute young girl, right? And then her dad, though, was this guy with this big sunglasses. I'm like, what is this Top Gun guy? I'm like, oh my God, wait a minute, that's Suri Cruise and that's Tom Cruise, okay? I'm like, that's literally Top Gun. That's what went through my head, right? And so, but the reason I'm telling the story is I went around the block, I jogged, because I was jogging, I jogged around, we had stopped at a light. By the time I made it around the block, they had just walked one block, paparazzi had showed up. Mm-hmm. Like, it was out of nowhere.
oh yeah, the word goes, yeah,
It was amazing.
It's annoying.
Yeah, that has got to be
Then you
annoying.
look at the news where they're hacking their phones and stuff.
Right, well, that's
you can
Yeah.
see.
Let me
yeah,
let me
go
play
ahead.
a classic movie card, because before I want to get back to Woody Allen just really quickly, because in my capacity working for Turner Classic Movies, I've gotten to interview some terrific people, and they've told some good stories about Woody Allen. So I'm curious, because Angelica Houston, right? She says that that when she goes to work with Woody Allen, he calls her, he wants to hire her, he brings her in, and then she she goes to introduce herself, he doesn't talk to her. He didn't speak to her for days. The beginning, she's like, and she's a nervous wreck. It's Woody Allen, for crying out loud, right? It's the biggest moment of her life. And he doesn't talk to her. And then eventually he talked to her. It was nothing personal. It's just that he's like focused and driven, and he sort of expects you to know your lines and do your job, and you know.
I've run into that with several directors, though.
But not Woody Allen. He was
no, he was there. He was
affable,
very kind
friendly enough.
and
Yeah.
affable and
Yeah.
stuff. And
Once he put down a clarinet.
yeah, once he put his clarinet down, got out of the car. Ridley Scott, that happened to me.
Really?
With I went down to Costa Rica. We were shooting 1492.
Oh right, yeah. Yeah.
We called it 1490 Who after a while. But you know, I went up when I first got there, and he was at the bar in the hotel, and I said, "Hey, how you doing, Ridley?" And he just looked at me. Said nothing. I was like, wow, I got to be down here for 3 months.
But doesn't that undermine your confidence?
But as the first day we were shooting, man, he was the greatest guy. I just don't think you're on their radar yet. I think they're
maybe that's it.
overwhelmed with. I really do, because it's happened several times, and I mean, this is a guy that, you know, that you're really in the trenches with, you know, when you're working, and you know, we were in the middle of Costa Rica, so we'd wake him up at 3 o'clock in the morning, and you know, have him come down and have a beer with us, and he was game. He was a great guy. He just didn't. I mean, I wasn't on his radar yet.
Right, and directing a movie, I imagine, is a beast. I mean, you got to be chasing after a million things.
There's a lot of
Same thing
stuff.
happened with me and his brother, Tony Scott. We were filming Enemy of the State, and I said, "Tony, how are you?" He's like, "Who the hell are you?"
That's right.
Because I was an extra. He didn't know me, he had no reason to know me. But anyway, so look, I want to ask you a couple of cliche questions, right? Is there one movie you did where you were like, or TV show, whatever it was, that you were like, yeah, I love that. That was my favorite.
Yeah, there's a few. Dave was one of them.
Dave, my father was in Dave.
Yeah,
my father
right,
played an
yeah.
advisor to Ben Kingsley and Dave. But Dave was a lot of fun. It was a great movie.
Just because it was just a great script. It was very timely. It was there was tons of incredible roles in it. When
And you were
look
the press
back at that.
secretary, right?
Yeah, I was press secretary of Frank Langella. It was just one of those things. You know, it was right there. I mean, when we were shooting the movie, Clinton won, and we were in D.C., and it was just very memorable And it was funny, we were at McLaughlin's house, John McLaughlin's
Oh,
house.
really?
We got invited there, and I was like a fly on the wall because it was me, Kevin Kline, Sigourney Weaver, and Ben Kingsley. I think that was it. No one knew who I was. I pretended I was going to be Ben Kingsley's bodyguard. But it was really funny because they didn't really expect Clinton to win.
Yeah, right.
And it was kind of a lot of these big-time Republicans, and we were guests at his house and stuff, and you know, everything. The living room was packed, and the numbers started coming in, and everybody just kind of filtered out like that.
So it was really election night.
Yeah, it was election night.
That's a great night.
And then we went to the party at the hotel, and
you were psyched. You're the
yeah,
political
I was
guy.
psyched,
Yeah.
and yeah, that night I was Ben Kingsley's bodyguard because he needed it that night.
Can I interject to ask a political question? Feel free not to answer, but is it, you know, how do you feel about the Obama administration in comparison to the Clinton administration, which, you know, you were psyched about when it happened? I don't know, maybe you wound up not being psyched about the Clinton administration, but what's your take?
My take on it is I think there were lost opportunities, and
With Obama.
yeah, and it's like the biggest job in the land, and it's okay if you throw the gauntlet down, and I'm still waiting.
Well, that's funny because just today on the Young Turks we covered the Obama's big speech on jobs. He's going to do that, you know, right after Labor Day. And so there's this big drama about, is he going to go large? Is he going to go and do a big progressive push for jobs? Or is he going to do half measures that Republicans might agree to? And anybody who's been following politics knows the answer already. You don't have to wait till after Labor Day.
I think he should just do his, you know, they should just show some of his speeches from when he was running and just, you know, digitally change his clothes and stuff and gray his hair, and it would be much better.
Candidate Obama. Candidate Obama as President Obama would be fantastic. I'd love to have that guy. Yeah. But that guy's coming soon, though, because he's got to win an election, and progressives apparently are a larger percentage of the population. He'll get a lot more progressive over the next year.
Do you think he thinks he needs progressives at this point?
Well, you know, that's a great question.
I'm beginning. I mean, in terms of an analysis on it, I'm wondering if he really thinks he needs.
That's a great nuanced question. I think that what's going to happen is the closer they get to the election, the more his advisors are going to look at specific polls and go, oh, right, we need progressives to show up, otherwise we can't win, right? And I think that's going to push him further and further. For example, I'll give you a somewhat related example, the Latino vote. They can't win without the Latino vote. It's absolutely critical. Yeah. But they did nothing the last 3 years to get the Latino vote. So all of a sudden, they're going to, and this has already begun. I predicted it 6 months ago at least, and just about a week ago, they're like, oh yeah, those 300,000 people we were going to ship out, we're going to slow that down.
Yeah, you know, it's the same with a lot of you know, unions. I mean, you know, you think he would have been, hey, hats off to Wisconsin folks. I'm thinking about you. Not a word.
Yeah, especially after I mean, you said the campaign in 2007, in the early part of the beginnings, the rumblings of the campaign. He said that if there's ever collective bargaining is ever challenged, I'm going to get my walking shoes on and join the picket line.
Yeah.
And the walking shoes still have not been located at the White House.
Well, first of all, let me just, who has walking shoes? What is he,
well, there's a walking store.
What is he, 90? Yeah.
People in Boca. People in Boca have walking shoes. I'm going to put my hush
puppies on, my cutty soles on.
Get my walking
and I'm going out there.
Yeah, first of all, take a plane. It's Wisconsin.
All right, for my part, let me ask you one last cliched question. Looking back on it, do you think, you know what, it was a great decision? Like, I loved what I did. I'm so glad I get into it. Or do you have some reservations and think like, you know, maybe I should have become an accountant like my dad told me, or whatever?
No, I've enjoyed it.
I'm going to answer that for him. No, he made the right call.
No, I mean, he's been a great success, but I don't know how he feels about it.
Stress involved. I mean, you know, no, not really. If my, you know, family life would have been different, I had a, you know, I was able to have, you know, a nice marriage and raise a son and, you know, be in on it and coach Little League and all that stuff. If I didn't get to do that, then I might have been, but, you know, I had lots of time where I wasn't working. Sometimes whole seasons. Wow, baseball season. I don't have a damn thing to do. I think I'll coach Little League.
Well, it's got an upside and it's got a downside.
But as long as you're prepared for that, and you can, the only thing about this kind of, and you know it, you can't wig out when you're not working. You got to just say something's going to come up, and then I'm going to get something.
Yeah, I wig out. I've chosen to wig out.
That's why I work on houses, because otherwise I would just be with a bunch of actors golfing and
I don't play golf. I don't have a kid to coach.
It's like
brutal. Let me ask you this real quick, because I knew we were going to talk to you today, and so I started looking and I started watching. I watched Hot Shots, about 40 minutes of Hot Shots. No, this movie's hilarious. It totally holds up. It's fantastic.
Yeah, it's held up pretty good.
It really holds up.
Ridiculous.
And Lloyd Bridges. That guy's a genius.
Huh? Yeah.
He's brilliant. I'd forgotten completely how good Hot Shots was.
He was in his early 80s when he did that.
Unbelievable. And the timing and all those scenes you guys have, it's fantastic.
Just the tone of, his lines are just the tone of them. Say, our first target is such and such in Falafel Heights. If we miss that target, our second target is something in a mime school. And it's just how he said it,
right,
It was
right. Mime school. It's just the scene, his hat blows off, for crying out loud. Yeah. And he's like, we can't go get your hat, we're on the mission. He's like, good point, we'll get it on the way back.
He did that flop out of the plane, too.
Yeah, he did.
He walks off the plane without the, without the little stairs, roll-up stairs, and he does a flip onto a mat.
So that's him. When you see him go down, that's him. It looked like him.
83 years old.
He's the guy in another movie that said, I picked a bad day to stop sniffing glue.
Yeah.
No, that's
like the greatest line of all time. Yeah.
No, he's an airplane, and it's essentially the same character. It's the Abrams brothers wrote this, right? Jim Abrams directed it, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But anyway, it's great. I forgot. It's Charlie Sheen and John Cryer also together. Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Yeah.
Was Charlie insane back then or no?
I don't know. He was fine. I mean, he was fun to work with. I don't know. I never went to any of his
parties. It was 1991.
He didn't bring out any scimitars or anything like that back then?
No, look, it was 1991. He was just doing a tremendous amount of coke.
He was just getting started.
Nothing more than that,
All right. We are out of time, unfortunately, right now with Kevin Dunn. God, we're so happy that you came in. Really appreciate it.
Asking me by.
What do you have? We're supposed to ask.
Oh, yes. My God. Something.
Oh, yeah. Cool show that's coming up in January on HBO called Luck. That David Milch wrote, and Michael Mann is.
I've heard a lot about that, actually.
About the horse racing world. It's pretty wild.
And I just watched start to finish Deadwood again in the last 3 months.
Yeah.
Just a reminder how unbelievable David Milch is.
It's amazing.
It's got to be a great dialogue.
Yeah. Just to get his stuff and
that's in the spring.
Yeah,
and you're a regular
premieres in January. Yeah.
I guarantee you we're going to watch it. There's no question about that.
It's cool.
You should. You made the right call.
Yeah.
The acting. Nice job.
Yeah. And accounting's kind of boring. Yeah. All right, Kevin Dunn, everybody.